Welcome. We are going to go over checkpoint 9 today. Select and mask. And I should remove that. We're not going to use the brush tool for this one. We'll do that on a different one. So just select and mask today. Pretty simple. For anyone who's new, remember you'll come up here to the checkpoint, read more, click on that. These are the written instructions that you can follow, or as you have clearly chosen, you could also watch the video that you are currently now listening to. You're going to need to click on hair and background. We are going to use both of these. We're going to select a lot of times in Photoshop, if you're not aware of by now, a lot of it is about selections, making selections. This is a part of, as you can say, quote unquote, the brute work in Photoshop prior to designing and creating. You need to get the selections of what it is you want cut out from the background and onto something that you are creating. One of the most efficient method of selecting something that has a lot of hair or a lot of fur is the select and mask feature. So you're gonna want to click on this, then right click on it, save image as. Do that for both of these, the hair and the background. I already have them downloaded here. And just select the hair one and then drop it onto your Photoshop icon, and it will open up here. So I'll bring the other one in here in a moment after we get a selection of this woman here and her hair as best we can. First thing you want to do, unlock the layer if it comes in locked, and then just select any selection tool. You should have a control bar up here. If there's ever a time when you do not see a control bar up here, you want to go to Windows, and then you want to go to, I believe it's Options. Yeah, there we go. You see how it went off? Options. We want to have the options checked. Select over here in your toolbar any selection tool. I'm just going to get the square marquee tool, right? You just make square selections with it. But with this or any other selection method is select and mask. Just click on that. The first thing you want to do here, first off, this is 2022, so it's updated. It comes with select subjects for refine hair and the really nice color aware within the refine mode here. Photoshop and its AI is going to do most of the work for us. So we're going to hit select subject, give it a moment. There we go. Now a brief word on what you are viewing over here to the right. In view mode, this is how you can see your selection in a number of different views. Currently we have it on onion skin. So right now we have this as the active selection, right? Because we hit select subject. In onion skin, 100% is, I'm seeing only 100% of the current active selection. The more I move this down, the more of what is not selected begins to appear through to where 0% is everything. So it helps in refining here with the refine edge tool to see what is not quite selected or what I might be missing and trying to make a better selection. As you can tell, there's a lot of the hair that's fading out because it's not a part of our selection currently, and we are going to go through a few steps here to try and get that hair back. The first is down here in refine mode. We're going to click on color aware, and you'll be able to see here that a lot of that hair comes back in. Edge detection, this is just detecting the edges. Bringing it up brings the selection in, bringing it all the way down keeps it at its current selection. Then we have some refinements. We can toggle this to smooth the edges of the selection. Feather, if you remember the difference between your brush, and you can have a hard brush or a soft brush. The soft brush is a feathered brush, and that's kind of what's going on here with our selection. Currently we have a good hard lined selection, but if you bring that feather up, it's going to soften it and give it a feather, which we don't want, right? We want to get a good hard selection. Contrast, this could be good. it'll make those edges a little bit harder, but obviously you don't want to do it too much, so a little bit of that can be good. And then shift the edge of our selection. We go to the right, we bring in more of the background, but maybe we want to go to the left and bring the selection in. For the most part, you're going to want to keep that at 0. And then output settings, we'll go over that in a second. Okay, so we did refine mode, color aware. The next step is to tell Photoshop refine some more of the hair, and it does a pretty good job. Now, the only part left for us is to get our refine edge brush tool, make it a little bit smaller here, and looking at the hair, there are some areas where the blue of that background is still poking through the hair. Like right here, you can see some of that. We're just going to take a refine edge tool and just paint or brush over that, and it's going to get rid of the background that is still showing through the hair. So just bring it along the edges, and you can see, all right, in here there's some blue, and as I paint, that transparency of the background is showing. So you're going to go over all of the hair with this fine edge tool wherever that background is poking through or showing. And don't forget up here on the edges of the hair, you're going to paint over that as well. And Photoshop is essentially using its AI, its artificial intelligence, as best as it can, and they're only going to improve it as they do every year. And it's detecting the edges of the hair, and everything else that gets painted is removed. So it says, okay, so this is the edge of the hair, keep that. Everything, the other pixels, those must be a part of the background, so we will make that transparent. We'll get rid of that. Okay, so that's everything. Now down here in output, we're going to tell Photoshop how we want to output this, and we want to do a new layer with layer mask, what is already selected. So go ahead and hit OK, and there we go. We have a new layer with a layer mask, and we retained our old one just in case. Now I'm going to go back, get my background, and just drag and drop it in there. I'm going to hit enter, and of course I want it to be below or behind my subject, so I'm just going to drag it behind, command negative a little bit, and then I'm going to get command T or edit free transform, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. This is 2022, so it constrains it automatically, which is nice. It didn't used to do that. But if I want to constrain it and make it larger from the middle of it, as you can see right now I'm holding onto the right edge and it's pulling it out from the right. But if I hold my Alt or Option button, it'll pull it from the center. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just make it big, hit enter, and go back to my move tool, maybe adjust the composition a little bit. Click on her, maybe bring her right there. Okay, so that is essentially it, but I'm going to show you one more. This is pretty good, but I'm going to show you one more trick of what we can do. So we're going to get a duplicate copy of her. So we're going to click on this layer that we made, and Command J will duplicate it, or you can drag the layer to the plus icon like so and release, and it will create a copy. Now on this copy we need to make a new layer mask. So we don't need this layer mask anymore, but we don't want to get rid of it. Alright, if I get rid of it, it just brings back the entire background. So I need to apply this layer mask to this picture. So right click on it, apply the layer mask, and we're going to go ahead and create a new one right there. Now the one below it, and I'll turn off the layer right here so we can see it. Some of basically what may be happening, though this is a pretty good selection, some of the pixels, excuse me, of the blue background that we deselected her hair from may still be showing through in here. So it's not so much of a problem because our new background that we put it behind also has a blue sky, but maybe it was a background that doesn't have a blue sky, and so those blue pixels might be showing up a lot more. A good way to get rid of that real quick is on this layer, we're going to set it to a blend mode of multiply. Now, we'll go over all of these blend modes in the second project, but this is kind of helpful just to hear now. Multiply makes everything that is white completely invisible. Everything that's black is completely visible. Then you have 50% gray in the middle. And as you go right towards white, all of those grays gradually become more transparent, right? They become more invisible as they get to white. And then at 50% gray, everything to the left as it's going to black, those are getting darker. So all of the pixels in this image that are closer to black, they're getting multiplied darker. And then any pixels that are 100% black, they are left unchanged. Now, how that can be helpful is we turn this layer back on. We need to make sure they are aligned. Turn this layer back on, and we have a layer mask. So maybe some of this hair is just too bright. So essentially what that means, sorry if I can go back here, is that those blue pixels that were closer to white, they are either invisible or almost completely invisible while the hair has been darkened. So we'll go back to here, and we want to subtly paint out maybe some of the parts of the hair that are just too bright or might have some of those blue pixels showing through, so that we can see the darker hair over here. So I need to make sure I'm in my layer mask. I click on my layer mask. Don't paint on your layer. And I'm going to get my black, because black, whenever you paint in a layer mask with black, that's going to hide. And I want to hide some of the hair of this layer so that the hair of the layer beneath it shows through. And I want to do that subtly, which means I don't want a flow or a transparency of 100%. I want to be able to have a lot of control, so I'm going to bring my flow all the way down to like 8%. And I'm just going to paint now in my layer mask with black, and as you can see, it's making that hair a little bit darker. So I can do this wherever I might need the hair to be darker due to those pixels that I want to get rid of. So there we go. That's pretty good. And that is it for this checkpoint.